The Rock and Roll Coffee Show is brought to you by Writers and Rockers Coffee Company, keeping the music and memories alive with some damn good coffee. Be sure to pick up your Rock and Roll Coffee Show coffee only at writersandrockerscoffee.com. And also brought to you by Retroactive, located at Broadway at the Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, keeping you retro with everything from 70s, 80s, and 90s. ShopRetroactive.com. I am Joe Sibilia, and this is the Rock and Roll Coffee Show.
It's the Rock and Roll Coffee Show. Yeah, let's go.
My next guest is Mitch Malloy. Mitch has a new record out called The Last Song, and I'm going to talk to Mitch all about the recording and writing of The Last Song, his early career, and a little bit about the reason why he didn't pursue the Van Halen gig as a lead singer. Next on the Rock and Roll Coffee Show.
It's the Rock and Roll Coffee Show. Yeah, let's go.
All right, man. So let's talk about, you got a new record out called The Last Song. Just came out probably a couple weeks ago, right? About 2 weeks ago when this comes out. There it is right there.
Yeah, coincidentally.
Look at that. You just happen to have an autographed copy.
How did that happen?
How'd you get that?
I don't know. It's magic.
Well, tell me about this record a little bit. I mean, when did you start working on this?
I started working on it. It was, I made the announcement finally that I left Great White, and then, the phone started ringing, things started happening. I was offered this and that, and nice things were coming my way, and an offer to make a record, and a couple different actually offers to make a record. And so I thought, well, I should probably make a record. And I'm always, I kind of live in the studio. I've been in the studio my whole life. Since I was 17, I think I had my first little home studio. So I'm always working on stuff. And I hadn't started my own record because I was in a band. So I wasn't doing that. So, but I was always, messing around, writing and recording and stuff like that. But when it was time to make the record, then I was like, okay, I'm actually making my next record. This is going to rock. And I got excited, and yeah. So it was, probably a year ago or something when I started. I went really slow on this record.
You took your time.
Yeah, but it's been done for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's been waiting for the vinyl to happen and waiting for all the business stuff to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even after I finished it, I just sat on it for a while because I was still trying to decide which label to go with.
Okay.
So so that was kind of a process unto itself. So I was just kind of sitting, something I'd never done, which is pretty cool,
Was that difficult? Like, didn't you want just to put
which
it out
part?
and let people hear it? Sitting on it.
Oh, that, yes. Yeah. Oh God, yeah. It's still difficult. I mean, just this week I was able to say it's out, finally. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The longest rollout in the history. Like, like it used to be in the music business, that was on purpose. Like, we would have a big marketing, plan. Right. And you started and it went slow, and there was a build up, and that's how you put out records before. But now with the internet, and I mean, everything is so immediate, and everything is so transient. Everybody's like, oh, that was cool for that 30 seconds that I paid attention to it, and now I'm paying attention to this, and that's just how our society is now. Right. So to do that long rollout like that was like excruciating. So yeah. It was hard.
But you did that to put it out on vinyl and this huge package that you put with it, right?
Yeah, which that didn't take much time because that was all, stuff that I could do here, and make videos, make acoustic versions of some of the songs, in video into the studio, so there's live studio versions like I would do on YouTube or something like that.
Right.
So I was able to do that, and we had to do that because, I mean, the guys that sing are really smart, and they knew. So for us to make out on this, because it costs so much to manufacture vinyl,
mm-hmm.
we have to charge so much, and then we have to charge even more than that if we want to make something off of it. And you have to make something off of it because what else are you doing otherwise, right? I mean,
Right.
everybody's got to make a living. So yeah, so the only way to make it like really let's really make this worth their while was to kind of stack the deck. And they had all these suggestions. Well, you could make live video, acoustic videos. You could do handwritten lyrics. You could do like a golden ticket live concert for the winners who win the live concert. We can do a poster. We can sign all the vinyl. We can do a picture. We can do pics. And they had this massive list. And I was like, yep. And they're like, well, which one do you want to do? I'm like, all of them. And
Why
they're like,
not?
all of them? I'm like, yeah, all of them. Let's go.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me about the golden ticket. I mean, so this is a live concert you're going to do with the winners of it. How do they get entered, or how do they win?
So you can, I mean, you can go to Sing Records and buy the bundle,
Mhm.
which includes the vinyl, includes immediate downloads of the CD. So you get the CD immediately. Those are the first people to hear it, the people that bought the bundle. And you get all that stuff immediately when you go there. You can also go there from mitchmalloy.com. I have that, and then I have all the other options as well. So I have the CD option and everything like that. And for people who just want to spend the money on just the CD, but if they're vinyl people and they enjoy getting all this other stuff that's unique to the bundle, no one else will get ever, and they can go and pay the money and get that. There's still some available, but not many. So if you want vinyl, better go, because
Better
it's
get it now.
about
Yeah.
it's about out. It's a very limited run, and we don't have any plans to do it again. So it is what it is, and that's how they get that. Yeah.
Okay. So when they buy that, they get entered for the golden ticket thing.
Yeah. So
Okay.
right, exactly.
Okay.
They get entered for the golden ticket, and the label picks the people that won the golden ticket, and then those people will all be on a live streaming concert with me.
That sounds fun.
Private concert for them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll talk to them, and that, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll answer questions. It'll be cool. It'll be like nothing else. It won't be like a concert. It'll be way cooler than a concert because they can talk to me and I'll answer them. They better
Right.
not talk to me while I'm singing.
Someone's going to interrupt you.
That would just piss me off.
Have you ever done anything like that before, like a live thing over the computer?
No.
Interesting. I'm just wondering, how do you know what it sounds like on the other side?
I don't.
That's
I'm
awesome.
gonna find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out. I mean, I think the technology now is so good that it'll sound like, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
I
I
can,
think so.
I mean, I'm sitting in my studio, so I'll be playing into the studio. So I'll have the nice reverb on it, and I'll have the compressors, and I'll have the
Sure.
nice, it'd be like I'm recording it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a record, like a live record,
Yeah.
except it's live.
Yeah.
So
That's exciting.
so it should sound great. I hope.
Well, I mean, you're a great player. You're a great singer. I don't see why it would sound bad. So
Thank you.
unless you get pixels on your screen or something.
Yeah, and it starts to go. That sucks.
So this is your second record as well that you played all the instruments on. Although this
Yeah.
one's a little different situation because the last
Yeah.
one was kind of rushed and you kind of had to do that, I think, right?
Yeah, the last one was Rush. I'm really happy with that. It looks like this, and you can buy this as well at mitchmalloy.com. It's
That
called
same
Making
guy
Noise.
signed that.
Yeah, who did that? Somebody's sneaking into my studio. So it's the second time I've done it, and the first time I never intended to do it at all. It was never a thing. It had been suggested to me many times by some of my producer friends, but I just thought, why would I do that when I have access to all these wonderful musicians, and music, it should be made, like takes a village, and it should be made with a bunch of different energy, and it should be, but I was forced to do it on my own the first time I did it, and I was really happy with it. And actually, it was really therapeutic. The song "My Therapy" is probably the best song on the Making Noise record. I made a video for that. And I meant that when I wrote that, is this is my therapy. Like it was really therapeutic for me. And so I thought I would do it again like that. And I wasn't closed to that. It wasn't like, oh, I'm definitely doing that again. It was like, I'm gonna start it like that and kind of see. And and there was a couple times where I was like, I think I need to send this to Tristan and have him play the solo, and then I would work on it a little bit more and I would get it, so I was happy with it. You know what I mean? It'd be like, I'm good. It's okay.
Right.
So that's kind of how that happened.
And did you let anybody hear it through the process, or was it just kept to you?
It was just to me, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I don't let anybody because it's it's so personal and unless it's somebody that's like unless it's somebody who's actually a producer, you know, um, it's really dangerous to play things for people that aren't done
Hmm.
because they don't see the end, you know.
Yeah, they're just
They-
hearing what they're hearing.
yeah, you can't, so you're a musician, so you understand this. It's like you can't, I've made that mistake in the past. You cannot do that because they could say something that would completely throw you off, and you'd be like, send you in some kind of emotional like tizzy, you know. So I'm really, really, really protective of it. I don't let anybody hear it. So it's really a freak out moment when I finally send it the whole thing to somebody, and I'm like,
Get nervous.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, you didn't only just play on this, but you recorded it, you mixed it, you mastered it.
Yeah, so nobody else comes in the room. I
Yeah.
start it here and I finish it here, and I'm by myself the whole time. So um it's a pretty amazing undertaking. I don't think people really understand. The people that don't understand don't need to understand. Just
Hmm.
enjoy it,
Enjoy it.
just enjoy what's coming into the speakers, hopefully. But the people that do, like the musicians, the session people, the producers, the engineers, those people, they get it. They know what's what it entails. But the thing is, it really only matters if you like it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't, oh, he made this by himself. So what? It sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter unless you like it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a kind of a big deal because it's a real sense of accomplishment of all the accumulation of all the years, all the time that I spent, and all the So I have a sense of pride about it, of course, but it's not like look what I did kind of thing. It's not, you know. I understand that people just want to hear music that they like, and they don't really care how it gets to their ears.
Hmm.
I get that.
Yeah. But it's got to be gratifying to you though to sit back and look at that finished
Yeah,
product saying, I did all of this.
yeah, yeah. It is gratifying, and kind of horrifying at the same time. Because it's like that's all me there.
Yeah.
Ah, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, mixing it yourself. I mean,
Mhm.
I've had this conversation before with other musicians that have recorded stuff on their own, but mixing. I mean, when do you know when that song is done? Because I do stuff here, and you can keep going these days, especially with technology these days, and this plugin and that plugin. You can keep putting stuff everywhere.
Trying this, trying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's a number of things actually. I honestly don't think I could have done this 10 years ago.
Mm.
It comes with time and experience. And I was a mix engineer in Nashville for 20 years. So I mixed tons of stuff. So when it's done, when it's for you, when it's done, and um I just upgraded the studio here, before I started the record. So I was learning new software as well. I mean, I was endorsing a software that I loved and that I knew inside and out. And I heard another software and I thought, that's it. That's the sound I've been looking for my whole life. I have to switch. And so I did. So I was struggling with that. That was the hardest part.
So you were
How does
learning
this do
too.
that? Oh yeah, I had to learn a new DAW, full
Mm.
on DAW.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big task.
it was so this record was kind of a monster task actually because of all that, and that's another reason why it took longer, because everything wasn't so instant like it was on the last. I mean, it was on the last software for 20 years. I was like, you know,
Yeah.
and this, it was like, why doesn't it do that when I do that? You know, and then you
Yeah.
have to go to tech support, and then tech support gets back to you 2 days later. You know, and you're like, I need to make this record. So yeah, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it came out great. It sounds great.
Thank
I
you.
mean, the
Yeah.
performance is great. You captured a lot of emotion in the songs.
Thank you. Yeah,
Um,
and well, thank you. And getting back to that, you know, I did pile on to a degree, you know, because you can kind of do everything now. You can, you know, like I can do the symphony here on my keyboards, and I can, you know, do this kind of guitar, that kind of. I mean, I have to play everything. I played everything. There's
yeah.
no computer playing or anything like that. But still, you have the option, like we didn't used to have, to do all these things at your fingertips. And I'd go past it, man. Like I would go past, and I'd be like, and I'd know it. I'd be like, I went past it, and that comes with experience too, though.
To know.
You know, that's time and just doing it for years and years and years, and going, wait a second, this has lost a little personality because there's three things playing what one thing could play.
Yeah.
So let's find that best one thing. Let's get rid of the other two. Let's develop that one thing so it's really supporting the song, or that part of the song. And you know, so a lot of that was going on too, like let's get the most emotion and vibe we can get with these individual things. So yeah,
Well,
yeah, a
I
lot
think
of.
you captured it. Yeah. I mean,
Thank
even
you,
on
man.
songs like
Thank
My
you.
Pleasure and Building a Bridge, I mean, the grit, you got that in there, you know. You did
Thank
what
you.
you needed to do for the songs and it worked.
That, you know, for me, that's what it's all about. You know, being a singer songwriter, you know, it's really all about the song, and how can the voice work, and then making the voice work, and then how do you support the vocal, you know? So, and that comes down to bass too. Like my second instrument is bass. Well, third actually, but people don't know that about me. I started playing bass when I was like 7 or something, and I started playing drums when I was like 6. Right. So drums was my first instrument, and then bass, and then vocal. Right. So so for me, the bass is the second most important thing, really. Like after you have everything else figured out, you've got the rhythm figured out, you've got the groove figured out, the drums are right. I find that even when the final vocal is down, the bass still isn't right. And I've had this discussion with big, huge artists that I think have even helped them in their bands, because I say, do the bass after the lead vocal is done. Like,
I
yeah, do
totally
the
agree.
bass, but come back, right?
Hmm.
Right?
I do the
Because
same thing.
okay, exactly. So a lot of people don't know this, you know, because the bass goes down and then they leave,
Yep.
you know, and that's the bass. And then they build
No,
everything on top of it, and then the bass never develops from there, you
right.
know. But once that lead vocal gets on there, the bass has to dance around that vocal, and it supports the vocal, and it makes the vocal better,
Hmm.
you know. So I mean, maybe that's why you like the record, because you're a bass player and you
Maybe,
recognize that I was doing that.
maybe.
Yeah.
I'm working
I,
on some stuff with some guys you probably know. And I'll send them the rough of the with my bass on. It's just a rough, but once I get the vocals back, then I go redo the bass.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Please. That's you can't make a record without doing that. I had this discussion with Huey McDonald. I don't know if you know Huey,
Yeah. Bon
but
Jovi.
yeah, and so he played on my first album, and we're dear friends. And he said this to me at one point. He goes, "You're doing the bass after the vocal, aren't you?" Like he got it, you
He
know?
knew.
And he goes, "Man, I wish I could do that. I never get to do that,
Yeah.
you know?" So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you
Yeah.
saying drums was your first instrument? Is that what you said?
It was, yeah. So I think like a drummer. Drummers always say to me, like, dude, like those drums. I'm like, I don't know. I just think like a drummer. I'm like, no, it needs to go boom, 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 with that. You know what I mean? Like it needs to, you know,
Yeah.
like the fill needs to go, bah, you know, or whatever. Like I just hear this shit in my head, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
So what got you started into music in general when you were a kid to play an instrument? Did other
just
members of your
music.
family?
Music, yeah, music. I'm the youngest of 6 kids,
Yeah.
so 6 and a half, but half wasn't there. But yeah, so So hi, Stephen. So I was in diapers, and listening to the Beatles or whatever from my older siblings. My mom said I was dancing in my diapers, was what she said, you know, before I could walk. She's like, you were dancing before you could walk, you know. So I've just always been music has just always been like a magnet to me. It just has me, but you know
Yeah.
what? I won't let
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Are you the only one in your family that is a musician?
No, my sister Holly is a brilliant singer, fantastic singer. My sister Nancy also uh, you know, is a singer song, dabbled. She never really pursued it. But yeah, my dad was played sax in a band. Um, my mom sang as well, just casually, never professionally. But my dad always, I think, wanted to be a professional musician. My dad would be like going to music things, like he would go to clubs and have a drink and listen to the band. And he was the one who took me to the symphony first time. And yeah, my dad was into it.
Nice. So what motivated you to learn all these instruments? Like after you started playing drums, then you went to
Yeah, it was necessity really, I think. Because being in the studio, so then I'm in the studio and I come from a really small town, so I always was like, well, if something's got to be done, well, if there's nobody else to do it, then I guess I'm doing it. So you just like become a problem solver, you know. You
Mm,
become a fixer and a problem solver, and you just start doing whatever needs to be done to make it good, you know. And then
sure.
you learn
Right.
because you have
You're
to.
all
You have,
self-taught?
yeah, completely
Yeah,
self-taught.
everything.
So, yeah, so that happened in the studio. So I'm in the studio and I'd be producing, and I hear something that needed to happen. And if one of the guys wasn't able to do it, or if one of the guys wasn't there to do it, then I had to do it, right? And so after a couple of years of doing that, I became really proficient kind of at everything that made a rock record, to the point where I think I could probably do this by myself now. Like that, it was a natural progression. That's why I said 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever, 20 years ago, I would have sucked at this. I think.
Sure.
I don't think I would have been anywhere near where I am now. Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit to your first record. Now you got your record deal in New York, is that correct?
In New York in 1990. Yeah.
So you were an East Coast guy, not a West Coast.
I'm from North Dakota.
Right.
So yeah, so I left North Dakota and went to the East Coast. My best friend Tim was going to Princeton, Brainiac, and still super tight, great friend. Um, in fact, he was in my bands growing up. I kind of started bands with him. Um, so he was going to Princeton. So there was that. And my dad thought New York is way cooler than LA. Go to New York. Was my dad,
Your
you
dad.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was his take on it. Um, so he supported me going to the East Coast, not so much the West Coast.
I
Right.
see.
So that's yeah.
Well, it worked out. I mean, how
Yeah.
how did you get noticed in New York?
I started right away going out and seeing bands and kind of and I would just I'd approach them because what else are you gonna do? So I would just go, I would find, I'd go out and I'd see a band that I liked, and they'd take a break, and I would go up to them and introduce myself, and I'd say, hey, I'd love to come up and sing if you, and they'd be like, well, what could you sing if you were to come up and sing? And I'm like, hit me with your best shot. And they'd be like, you can sing Hit Me With Your Best Shot? I'd be like, yeah, I can do the solo too. And they'd be like, really? And they believed me because
Yeah.
I'm believable. So that started happening. So I started like jumping up, and so then my name started getting around in the New Jersey circuit, which was an amazing circuit. I mean, it was like cranking. It was like 1,000 people a night. Like it was a healthy scene, healthy club scene there. So yeah, so that was fortunate, right? And so I got in with one of those bands, and I started doing that. So then I was, doing covers, but I was making a living and kind of, working on my craft at the same time, and, working on my uh, songwriting at the same time. And just, that's kind of how that started. And then I realized that the cover thing was, kind of a hamster wheel. And, it's like these guys that I was with, they'd been doing it for a long time. And I was like, after about a year of that, I was like, I think I better shift gears
Mhm.
and starve. So I
Yeah, because
did.
you're making money with the covers, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I had to pull out of that, and then I starved, and then I got, I had my kind of a name out there, so I got in with David Rosenthal, who was a keyboard player from Rainbow. So we had a band called Infinity. So that was my first like real like working with a rock star, and professional, and writing songs with him. And we recorded. There's a thing called Infinity. There's a record. It's our demos, but it's actually out on a CD. It's kind of hard to get, I think, but it's called Infinity, and that's really my first ever professional recordings. So, and then it just kind of went on from there. And then from there, I did this, and then I formed a band called Malloy in the mid in 1988, and that lasted like a year and a half, and then I got my record deal. So with RCA.
And that record deal was with you as an individual?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They weren't. So in 1990, they were like, "This is all great, the hair band thing, fine, but we think the hair band thing is over, and we're not really interested in signing a hair band." So they signed me. So that was how that happened. And it was like, well, this has been fun, guys, but and it was fun. That band was fun, but it wasn't, I mean, we were together for like a year and a half, and we probably did 15 shows or something. We played quite a bit, and I still love those guys. But yeah, it was either sink or swim, really. It's I had a chance, and they understood. And so yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Yep.
And then you released a few solo albums. Why didn't was there no interest of going for a band again?
Um, I've always had an interest in that. I
Okay.
I grew up in bands.
Right.
I mean, I grew up, my first at age 12, I formed a band. So I literally grew up in a band. So I grew up with that brotherhood that was part of my childhood, really. You know, like when I got with Eddie, he said, "You're a solo artist. Are you sure you're cool with being in a band?" I'm like, "Eddie, I grew up in bands. Like it's all I've ever known. The solo artist thing for me is weird, because I've only been in bands." So he was like, "Okay, cool." But yeah, so I've tried a couple of different things here and there and had different offers, but it just nothing never really panned out for the band thing. Um, I turned a lot of things down, to be honest, but yeah, I mean, but who knows? I mean, I'm still open to that.
Mhm.
If the right situation presented itself, I would jump. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I think there's a few bands you'd be great with almost most of the bands out there.
Well,
I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, thanks for that. I mean, but a lot of them, they're kind of settled. They have their guy, and they're doing fine with that. And and that's, I don't want to force somebody out, you know. I think that I got that kind of thrown on me with the Great White thing, although even though I had nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Like people kind of looked at me like I did that. I didn't do that. I was offered a job and I took it, you know. Um, but that's a kind of a tough thing. It would be, I mean, the ultimate scenario would be if the singer, and that did happen to me in one job that I was offered that I don't really talk about, but pretty huge band. The singer actually called me first,
the singer of the
which is,
band.
well, yeah, which is great. Like that's how it would be. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if the singer
Mhm.
goes, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Come and do it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like perfect. But I
But
mean, you
then wouldn't
can't.
you be thinking, well, why doesn't he want to do this anymore?
Yeah, maybe. Boy.
Uh,
Yeah.
so talk real quick about you spoke about your Van Halen thing
Yeah.
a lot out there. It's
Yeah.
all
It's
over.
it's
So I don't want to get
yeah.
into that, but I do want
Yeah.
to know I have one question about that whole situation.
Mhm.
So after they did the whole thing with Dave, came on TV, and then you rethought the situation. You sent them a letter, correct? Saying
I,
you weren't
I
interested?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. Win Jackson, my manager, wrote the letter and sent it. I didn't write it or send it. But he
Yeah,
did
yeah.
that. Yeah.
How come you didn't want to just wait and stick it out and see what was going to go down?
Just didn't feel right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It just, yeah, feelings are important. You should pay attention to them. And to me, it just didn't feel right. And it was an overwhelming feeling. Um, and it's funny because a lot of people don't know this, but Desmond Child was also not involved in this, but he had a little bit to do with it. And like because Desmond had been there with them and they were talking about me, right? They'd already decided that I was coming in and they asked him and he gave me the thumbs up. So he called me to tell me that, which I was like, oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And so when things got wonky, I called him and I said, what do you think? I said, it doesn't feel right to me, man. It's like, feels really, I love Ed. I love those guys. I'm so happy that I got a chance to do this and everything, the opportunity, what happened, but it just doesn't, I don't think it's going to go well. It doesn't feel right to me. And I don't really feel like I should do it. And he goes, then write them a letter. It's his
They said
idea.
it right away.
It was Desmond's idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't know that because I don't talk about it because I don't want to drag him into it because he's
Sure,
Desmond Child
sure.
and he doesn't need the drama and the bullshit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I have mad respect for that guy. So yeah. So anyway, that's how that went down. And I just, yeah. I mean, I see your point for sure. And I did wait for a while. I did. There were days that passed and it was like, whoa, those days, yikes. Those were tough days. Yeah.
Man, that had to be a tough decision though.
Those were tough days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from the moment that I saw that thing and to the whole, yeah. Glad it's over.
Yeah. And then after that, you did some time with Great White, right? 4 years?
4 years with Great White. Yep.
Okay.
Had a blast on stage. I love the crowds. Yeah, it was a really positive experience for the most part. I think, it was a difficult situation. Physically was tough, the travel and the shows and all that. But man, once you got up on stage, it was like, yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
And now with the solo album, are you going to be touring?
There are some shows already booked. I'm not saying what they are yet because we're waiting for some others. So, but yeah, it's, I mean, the word touring, I would say, I don't know about that,
Right.
but there'll be shows.
Difference. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like we're going to go, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Most likely not, but there will be shows and there'll be good shows and we'll have some fun and who knows what could happen. I mean, the response has been kind of overwhelming to the record, honestly. It's yeah, it's been pretty incredible. So who knows what could happen? The phone is ringing and opportunities are happening and we'll see.
That's awesome. Now, do you have a touring band already set up or just some ideas?
Yeah, I have a pretty large bag of tricks there. Like I just know so many musicians that are so great. Just from all the years of producing and then in playing, and there's a lot of great guys. So it's just going to come down to who can do probably, what show at what, I don't even know if I'll have the same band for every show or what, you know what I mean? I mean, and that's
who's available.
Yeah, that's normal for me. That's why I have such a long list. It's like, again, on October 9th or whenever, can you, and this one can't, okay, can you, and you know what I mean? And then boom, you have your band and they commit and then you've got your band and that's usually how I do it. So it's always great though. The musicians that I have access to are fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about talk a little bit about the strategy of releasing it? I mean, you didn't put a single out first, did you?
One of a kind. Yeah.
Did that come out before the record?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The video. Yeah. I mean, the video came out as a pre-sale. So here's the video, and then you can buy the vinyl in pre-sale. But we didn't have anything digital available yet because we wanted to offer the vinyl first, as this is the only option.
So the single came out in video format, wasn't on the streaming services.
Yeah, no, just
Right. Okay.
video. Yeah,
Okay.
just the video. Yeah, so no, the single didn't. Yeah, so we wanted to hold everything back, and plus, I decided to go with Cargo UK for the distribution of the rest of the world. United States, I have distribution for, but Cargo UK is a company that my first album, I don't know if you know the Mitch Malloy debut album with anything at all. They brought that into the UK from BMG, right? So John there has known me since then. So I was like, oh, Cargo UK, boom. So I reached out to him and he was all about it. And so he has it. And yeah, he's got it digitally and he's got CDs worldwide except for the US.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on how to release music these days? As far as there's so many
Oh, no,
different opinions, you know what I mean?
I don't think it doesn't seem like there's a good way. You know what I
Right?
mean? Like there's
Yes.
all these ways and they all suck.
Yeah. That's why I asked, because I don't really
It's
know
not,
of
I
the
know
best
everybody
way.
asks me that. There's not a good way. Like it used to be a certain thing. Like we had an advantage because it was this special thing that was coming. And you could only get it at your record store, you know?
Yeah.
Like it was advertised, you heard it on the radio, maybe, right? And then you'd go to the record store and then maybe you could hear it at the record store if you're lucky before you bought it. And that was a special way things worked and it worked well and it was how it worked. Now, who knows, man? I mean, there's people releasing a new song every week or
Right.
something.
I mean, some won't put out albums, they just do singles now. So
Yes,
it's like,
yeah. And I get that. They're like, oh, you did a CD? You know, like, what's that? Well, it's this thing. It's this
yeah.
thing, and it's this digital round thing, and it goes in this machine and it plays music. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough these
Yeah,
days.
yeah, it's not easy.
You're a tech guy though, right?
Well, I made
Equipment.
records by myself, so yeah, you have to be pretty
Well,
technical.
are you using, are you miking amps, or you going direct using plugins and
I have in
simulators?
the last when Kemper came out, I was very scared to make that jump, but it was highly recommended to me by somebody I trusted. And so I became an endorser. I was one of their first endorsers, I think. And so once I heard that, I realized that it was kind of my savior because I had been tracking guitars forever up until that point. And it's always a huge ordeal. It's difficult to do. They sound different every day.
Mm-hmm.
Tube amps sound different every day.
Yeah.
And it's just really hard. The mic angle and this and that, and the compressor and and everything, the right thing. And I mean, by the time you get the guitar sound right, it's like, oh my God, you're exhausted. So the whole digital realm came in, and I was like, thank God I'm not a guitar player. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to be like a snobby. It's not like I'm Stevie Ray Vaughan. The sound has to be like perfect. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Because it's not perfect, but it's close and it's
It,
close enough.
it's getting better all the time.
Yeah, and it's better. This record, I don't know if you listen, you seem like you have the ears. If you will listen to the difference between this record, which is all Kemper, and this record, which is almost 100% soft tube Marshall Plexi
Hmm.
through the Apollo, zero latency. There's a difference. This is better.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just
That sounds
is.
great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like when I plugged in, I was like, what in the? I didn't see that comment. I didn't buy it for that.
uh,
For me, like software amps were like crap. I
yeah.
was like, oh, this is going to suck, but I got to try it because it's my new thing. And I
Yeah.
plug in and I'm like, yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
it's like the first album. I've been trying to get the anything at all sound ever since then.
Then you got it.
Well, I got it. Yeah. Yeah, I got it now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So people can still go get a few copies left of the bundle.
Yes, which I don't
Malloy.com.
have in my hands yet. It's coming tomorrow. It was supposed to be here Monday, but it got delayed.
You don't have one.
I don't have, not, it's supposed to, Thursday. Comes
What?
tomorrow.
How does that happen?
It's, ew, baby. Vinyl is like,
Yeah.
it's so slow.
But
Yeah.
people love it now again.
Hey, yeah, I guess. Yes, yeah. So I mean, good for them. I don't really. I mean, for me, it's a thrill to have a vinyl LP of my, that looks like this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be, it's a thrill because I grew up on that, and it's my first ever.
It's
So
white, right?
yes, it looks exactly like this. It's just bigger. So, but aside from that, I'm like, you know, I'm well into the digital world and love it. So
Do you
yeah,
have a record player?
I don't I don't even own one, and I'm
You're
not
just going to
buying
look
one.
at this vinyl.
Yeah, I'll have one. It'll be back there. It'll get dusty.
That's funny.
Yeah,
All right,
keeping it
man.
real, man.
Well, listen, you did great job on the record. Congratulations on it.
Thank you.
I definitely highly recommend it,
Thank you.
and just great job.
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me, and I'll come back and see you next time.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Thanks.
All right, buddy.
Take care.